How we doing, everybody? Today we're going to cook this amazing pork belly from Field and Flour. So we've got a 2 kilo pork belly joint already rolled up for us, which is amazing. Some lovely string work there. So pretty much prepped and ready to go for the barbecue. We're going to cook this on the rotisserie, so basically it will constantly spin and give us some really nice even cooking. And the aim of the game basically is to crisp up this skin on the outside so we get some really nice crackling. You know these videos where you drag the knife across and it makes that nice noise? That's what we're going for, and I'm going to get one of them shots for you all because that's what people love, right? Few little tips to help get some amazing crackling. Basically, you want the skin on the outside to be as dry as possible. So what I did was took this out of the bag, patted off any excess moisture and just let it hang out in the fridge for a few hours. What we're going to do now is just liberally season it with salt and get it back into the fridge to help draw out any excess moisture that's been left. Then we'll pat that with a towel and get it onto the rotisserie, because we basically just want it to be as dry as possible so we don't have to cook out that moisture first. Get a nice crispy crackling. We're going to monitor the cook with our meter wireless thermometer. Basically perfect for anything on the rotisserie because you can leave it in the meat. You don't have to keep stopping the rotisserie, inserting your instant read thermometer or your wired thermometer. You can just literally leave it spinning throughout the duration of the cook. We're going to use some Cornish sea salt to cover the pork. Then we're going to get it back into the fridge and let it hang out for a few hours. You can do this overnight. I'm not that organised. I got this out last night, defrosted overnight, so we're ready to cook now. And yeah, we should have some delicious pork belly for our dinner. And yeah, let's crack on. Oh, I'm just going to go wash my hands because I've handled the pork. So we're back, and all I need to do now is just take some of this lovely flaky sea salt and just get it on to our skin. I really like these trays because they've got like a rack on the inside, so basically you can put it on the tray, have the meat kind of suspended in air almost, and any sort of moisture that drops off will just go on the tray underneath. So yeah, really advise investing in some sort of trays like this. I've got these from Amazon. I think they're like 2 for 20 quid, like a little bargain and that. But yeah, we're just going to go on with our salt, try and get it all over. And now we're going to go back into the fridge just to dry out a little bit more moisture, and then we'll get it on the Kamado Joe Classic 3 with the rotisserie attachment and take it for a spin. I've got a good amount of charcoal in the grill, and I've left a little hole for our firelighter to nestle into here, and we'll light it, and that way the firelighter will have room to breathe, well, ignite and burn. So we've set our Kamado Joe Classic 3 up for the rotisserie attachment, and what I've done is inserted the ash basket divider and banked the charcoal to the rear of the grill. So basically when the pork turns, whenever it drips any fat down, it won't actually hit the charcoal below it. It will just go into the actual barbecue. Basically, you don't want to have your charcoal directly underneath, especially something quite fatty like pork belly, because the fat will basically cause like these plumes of black smoke to flavour your meat, which isn't ideal. So what we want to do is make sure there's no charcoal underneath. We want to make sure the grill has reached a good temperature. So I'm aiming for 180 degrees Celsius because we really want some crispy crackling, and I want to make sure the grill is stabilised at 180 degrees Celsius for a good 15 to 20 minutes before I cook the pork. Basically, these Kamado Joes, fully ceramic, so the dome holds a lot of heat. So what we want to do is have the barbecue come up to temperature. You want that dome to soak up a load of heat like a sponge, like a heat sponge, because it's going to give you like some infrared cooking action. So the dome will perpetuate heat down onto your pork belly skin as it rotates. You'll get heat from the fire underneath as well, so we'll get some amazing crackling action. So get the grill lit now, we'll stabilize it at 180 degrees. We'll get our pork belly out, we'll dab it off just one more time, and then we'll get it onto the grill and use the meter block to guide us to some amazing pork belly action. I want it to reach around sort of 68 degrees Celsius, so we'll use the meter to guide us to that. So the pork is now out of the fridge. As I said, we were going to get a little bit of moisture coming out of it, so let me show you what we've got, which is like, well, I don't know, maybe like a tablespoon worth of moisture that's come out of the pork. So what we're going to do is just remove some of that excess wetness from the pork just by dabbing it with a bit of Bounty, you know, kitchen roll, and then we're going to get it on our skewer. So we've got the Kamado Joe rotisserie, which effectively is a large spit with two of these prong holders. So we will go directly through the center of the meat. Like so. And then we'll use the forks to secure it in place. These are actually perfect size for this pork. So you've got two prongs that go into the meat, and then the other two kind of like secure it on the outside, which is pretty handy. So now we're going to get it on to the grill. I've not actually secured it properly because what I want to do is basically make sure it's central to our fire, and once it's on the grill then I will tighten it up. So we'll get you over to the grill now and we'll get this pork on. Don't forget to insert the meter thermometer though. So we've got our meter thermometer from the block with our number 1. It's just fallen off, we'll put that back on. So yeah, we want our meter thermometer to insert. So basically the line here is into the actual meat. So we want a read from the center of the pork to make sure it's cooked all the way through. So what we'll do is we'll just go in on the side where there's actually some flesh rather than trying to go through the actual skin of the pork. There we go, and we were in, and that's a good place to get a read. So now we'll go over to the grill and get our pork on. So before we shut the lid, we'll just give it a test spin just to make sure it turns around with no issues, nothing hits, because obviously you don't want your thermometer hitting the bottom or the side. So yeah, it's looking good. The hard part now is to not lift the lid too much because we want that skin to really harden up and some nice crackling to form. So we're just going to let it run at around 180 degrees Celsius until we reach an internal temperature of around 68 to 70 degrees Celsius, and that crackling on the outside has become hard and gorgeous. It took about an hour and 40 minutes in the end, and I checked the meter app so we can see how long the cook actually took. And now it's a case of actually just getting the meat off. I've got a tray here to let it rest so the juices can redistribute and we can admire that amazing crackling. So I promised you the obligatory sharp knife over crunchy crackling, and here we go. So all that's left to do now is carve this and eat it basically. So I'm going to serve it with some mashed potato and some spring greens. Really got into spring greens. They're in season, they're cut through like really rich meat quite nicely, so they're cooking inside, and all that's left to do now is carve this and see how we've done. I wanted it to reach around 70 degrees Celsius, so the meter basically took that into account and told us when to take it off, let it rest. I've taken the meter out now and it's time to carve. And there we go. Perfectly pink pork belly, crispy crackling. It's exactly what I wanted to achieve. Amazing. The meter led us to an amazing cook, and that is going to be some amazing eats.